How the heck did you go about getting into that position?
Do you need me to carry something?
I probably will eventually.
No way I'm cracking this.
Dang it. Gonna have to remember to come back for that. I made myself waffles for breakfast this morning. Because, you know, waffles, breakfast, it's just a thing. And I made them in the kitchen, obviously. Where else would you make them? Don't answer that. There's some rude jokes you can make about that. Don't respond to it. I will block you in the comments section. So, made them in the kitchen, preparing to leave the kitchen, because I don't eat in the kitchen. There's not enough room for chairs in the kitchen, and I'm not going to stand up like some peasant when I eat my breakfast. I'm not going to eat my breakfast over the sink like some frickin' rodeo clown. I was going to sit down in another room and watch something, anything, while I eat my breakfast. Oh, but you shouldn't watch it. Shut up! Shut up! So as I was leaving the kitchen, I tread into a puddle of cat urine. Now, fortunately, I don't wear socks around my house. And this is the exact reason why, because my entire life I have grown up with four-legged animals running around the house. Socks were not something you wore around the house for this specific reason. Either for urine, or because they just drip water out of their water bowl and just carry their slobbering jowls all over the house. In my house, you constantly run the risk of wet socks. Anyway, I set down the waffles and then proceed to clean it up. And then as I'm in the middle of cleaning up, I happen to notice that the cat who I was under the impression was in another room is suddenly in the room with me. I don't know how, because there is only one way in, and the puddle was right in the doorway for the most part of the way into the kitchen. And the cat is eating my waffles. There's no punchline to this. She's just a bitch. What'd you expect? You can't trust animals that don't have eyebrows. Think about it. Cats do not have eyebrows. Dogs have eyebrows. I see a dog just lying on the floor, not wanting to lift his head up, but yet he glances from side to side, and every time when he does, he just cocks one eyebrow over into the direction that he's looking at. But cats, they don't have eyebrows. They just have those whiskers just shooting straight up out of their forehead. I like cats. I like cats more than I like dogs, but you can't trust those monsters. Those creatures that just automatically assume they own whatever domicile they're in, and then just permit you to live in it. If that cat was larger than you, it would not be your friend. It would play with you and then eat you. What else do you expect from a species that evolved in a way to manipulate the human race in such a manner that its meows are designed to mimic the cries of a human child, which triggers something in the human brain which compels it to take care of whatever's making that sound in order for it to stop making that sound. A baby makes that sound, and then the human is compelled to take care of the child, because that's how the human race carries on. That's how we're programmed to take care of our young like that. And then the cats somehow got hold of that knowledge, and then instinctively, when they want a human to take care of it, they mimic the sound of one of our young. That is sick! The cat's looking at me from across the room contemplatively, like, I know this human is stupid, but he knows a little bit too much. I'm going to smother him in his sleep with my butt. There's another thing that cat likes to do to me. She likes sticking her butt in my face. There was this one time where I had a hell of a time. This was many years ago. This cat has lived for a long time, and she hopefully will live for a lot longer, because she is the only pet I've had in this house for the past 20 years that I actually like. With the exception of my bearded dragon, who, yeah, that dragon lived for about 5 years longer than it should have. It lived 5 years longer than its life expectancy. I digress. I was having trouble sleeping because that cat would just paw at anything that was plastic, and just... She would sit on the bed and then just vigorously scratch her face, and that would just keep the bed shaking all night long. And she would be pawing at plastic, I think I said that. And yeah, she was just making noise all throughout the frickin' night. And then I wake up in the morning, still tired, but something just compelled me to wake up. And then right in front of my face, an inch away from my face, is just this little pink hole that just, for a brief moment, just opened up. I got a little puff of wind in my face, and then it closed. Oh, I lost it. I opened my window. I set the cat out onto the roof, and then I closed the window, and then I went back to bed. There was no punchline to that. I just left the cat outside for a couple hours. That was back when my bedroom was on the second floor. She stayed out there for a while.
Got it.
I don't know if she liked it. I don't know if she hated it. I don't frankly care. I refuse to wake up to an anus that just puffs cat fart right into my eyeball. I'm lucky I didn't get pink eye. That cat is lucky I didn't get pink eye, or that cat would have been bathed in the toilet.
You look quite dashing in that.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Hey, Weissman.
Well, you're still alive. That either means you haven't gone after those super mutants yet, or good news.
I heard that line somewhere before.
Those super mutants won't be bothering you again.
I guess you were the right person for the job, huh? Thanks, friend. By the way, we've decided to support the Minutemen. We got to help each other if we want things to get better.
Okay, so now I can just store these over here. Or is it... where? Oh, Jesus, that way.
I hope you realize how much you did for us.
Just as long as you realize how much I did for you.
Hey.
You need something, yes? Here's what I have on me.
Why did I have to go all the way over there? This one works just as well.
This looks like a good place to rest.
Are any of the beds not owned? Can I sleep in any of them? Man, that suit got jacked in that fight. Glad I had it with me.
We make a hell of a team.
Yep, for that time that you and I were together. Oh dear. What? Oh, right. forgot. I don't got that. Oh my, what to level up next? Gotta be all the way at level 39 before I can get rank 4 gun mods. That's unfortunate. Oh, there's carrots. I was wondering, it's like carrots seem to be really rare, but no, they got lots of carrots here. Anyone remember those floating rocks a couple episodes back? Or maybe it was last episode, or maybe I just didn't upload that episode whatsoever because for some reason the footage or audio or whatever got lost. I have bad luck with recording sessions, and I don't know what I do and don't keep because I don't know how compelling I am in hindsight. If you watch my channel, you know this. If you don't watch this channel, you're not really hearing what I'm saying right now anyway, so why am I talking to you? What was I talking about? Floating rocks, that's right. Rocks that when I was exploring underwater, because I wanted to try and help out the community, and then, I kind of gave up because there was a lot of water, and then shortly after I gave up, and some guy uploaded a mod that technically deletes the water so you can just walk around under this along the seabed as if it was dry land. That would have helped me out a lot, and I wish that guy put that mod out sooner. Anyway, the rocks were floating a couple inches off the seabed. They weren't nestled securely on the seabed, and they weren't floating all the way to the top. They were floating somewhere in the middle. I didn't think about this at the time because I was currently bitching about a movie. I'm not going to go into which movie it was because I'm not opening up that old wound. But sometime after that, it got me remembering an old science project that I had back in high school. Now, this teacher, I'm not going to say her name because reasons. I don't know, I feel some sort of obligation to just generally not say other people's names on this channel without their permission. Even though I feel no obligation to this woman, she was a... She had a name that made you think that she got made fun of a lot in school. It wasn't anything overt like vagina or anything, but it was just an unusual name. It was... Sometimes you get teachers or faculty that just have unusual names or mannerisms, or just something about them that makes you think, this person got made fun of a lot in school, and so they grew up and entered into the school system as an authority figure, so now they have some power over this class of humans that made their life miserable when they were younger. I had a vice principal who was like that. She had a doctorate in something. It was one of those doctorates where, yeah, she has the doctorate, so technically she is a doctor, but unless she's a medical professional, or at the very least a psychiatrist, no disrespect to psychiatrists, I actually do willingly call psychiatrists doctors, but she had, like, something where she shouldn't actually be called a doctor, but insisted that you call her a doctor. She was a vice principal who you called a doctor. Needless to say, a lot of students didn't call her doctor, least of all me, because I already have a problem with authority figures, and if you are that hard up for respect, just something about that obligatory title that just rubs me the wrong way. It just smacks of arrogance, so I had a couple run-ins with her, and I'll probably be talking about stories about her somewhere along the line, but anyway, back to this one project with the science teacher. This project was called the flinker, Has anyone ever heard of the term flinker? I'm actually legitimately asking this question, because if you've heard of flinker, chances are you've had this teacher. Because I never heard of this before or after her. And granted, I never looked it up on the internet afterwards, but anyway, a flinker, for those of you who don't know, which I'm pretty sure is most of you, is something that is supposed to both float and sink simultaneously. She insisted that a cork be used as the base, and you can do whatever you need to the cork, but take the cork, and like the cork from a bottle, like a bottle of wine or whatever, and then put it into a glass of water, and then it will neither rise to the top, it won't sink to the bottom, and it can't be suspended in any way, like not touching the glass. It is supposed to merely float in the middle of the glass of water. Now, back then, I thought I could probably do something with salt, like add a certain amount of salt to the water to get it to do that. But no, you're not supposed to do anything to the water. This is supposed to be able to float in any glass of water. It's supposed to be the object itself that is supposed to float. Now, to this day, that doesn't make sense to me, because either it is heavier than the water, at which case it is going to push the water molecules out of the way and thus sink to the bottom because gravity, or because of its shape and mass, the water is thus going to be heavier, and then it's going to push the object, out of the way, and thus huddle underneath the object, and thus the object is going to rise to the top and float. That's how buoyancy works. Now, granted, the teacher did explain buoyancy. She explained that why objects sink and float, I think. I recall her explaining buoyancy, and I would think that she would explain how objects sink and float. She didn't actually explain how to get an object to stay in the middle of the water. That's the thing. She never, ever explained how to get an object to float in the middle. She never explained how the flinker was supposed to work before or after the project. She just gave out the project, okay, I want you to take this cork and then get it to float in the middle of a glass of water without touching the sides or whatever. Which, that's another bullshit thing, is that if the thing was, like, heavy on one side and thus, like, it was still in the middle of the water, but, like, moved over to the side and touched the side of the glass, that was, you got a full letter grade deduction on that project. You didn't fail, but it will keep you from getting an A on it. Yeah, so she never explained how you were supposed to do this. That's not a good thing for a science project. Now, that will be one thing for extra credit, but this was a mandatory project. Every student had to do this, and it was a major part of the grade. If you didn't do this, you would have to get a near perfect score on all the classwork, homework, and tests just to pass her class. So, students would take this home, they couldn't figure it out, they would ask their parents for help, and the parents couldn't figure it out. I would know this because there would be several times where I would come to class, and there would be several parents in class that day complaining to the teacher that they couldn't figure it out, and how ridiculous it was that the teacher would expect the students to somehow be able to figure it out without ever being taught as to how this would work. I would think that the parents would have actually gone to, like, looked online, because the internet was a thing back then. I'm not quite that old. I didn't have internet at the time, so, because my father was the kind of man who thought, oh, the internet's just a fad, they're gonna get over it in some time, but I digress. I don't think anyone ever actually did that. I think they tried, and they failed, and they got an F, which was still somewhat better than a 0, which is what I got. I was not a kid who... Getting zeros on projects was not a strange thing to me. It was something I did quite often. If I didn't feel like doing it, I just wasn't going to do it. Any of my classes I passed, I simply got because I got perfect scores on all the tests. Classwork, I seldom did, and most of it was textbook work, which is just reading through a chapter in the textbook during class and then answering questions that are at the end of the chapter, super easy, because the questions are always in order, so all I had to do was just skim paragraphs. Homework, I typically did homework in class, because I'm in class as it is, so already my time's being wasted, so I'll at least use it productively. I'm not going to waste my time with homework when I get home, because when I get home, that's my time. I already spend most of my I spend most of the year in school. I spend most of each week in school. I spend most of my waking day in school. I have a few hours when I get home to have leisure time, to let my mind play, to let my mind recover from the menial tasks of going to school. And now you want me to bring those menial tasks back home to school? Back home from school? No. Fuck flinkers.